City Hall Station, IRT Lexington Avenue Line. The City Hall Station, also known as City Hall Loop, was a terminal station on the IRT Lexington Avenue line of the New York City subway. It was under City Hall Park next to New York City Hall in Civic Center, Manhattan. The City Hall Station was constructed for the Interborough Rapid Transit Company, IRT, as the southern terminal of the city's first subway line, which was approved in 1900. Construction of the segment of the line that includes the City Hall Station started on September 12 of the same year. The station opened on October 27, 1904, as one of the original 28 stations of the New York City subway. As ridership grew, it was deemed infeasible to lengthen the original 257-foot, 78 m, platform to accommodate 10-car trains. The station was closed on December 31, 1945, because of its proximity to the Brooklyn Bridge Station. The City Hall Station, with its single-track and curved side platform, was the showpiece of the original IRT subway. The single platform and mezzanine feature Guastavino tile, skylights, colored glass tilework, and brass chandeliers. The Rafael Guastavino design station is unique in the system for using Romanesque Revival architecture. The tunnel passing through the City Hall Station is still a turning loop for the 6 trains. The station is a New York City designated landmark listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Construction and opening. Planning for a subway line in New York City dates to 1864. However, the development of what would become the city's first subway line did not start until 1894, when the New York State Legislature authorized the Rapid Transit Act. The subway plans were drawn up by a team of engineers led by William Barclay Parsons, chief engineer of the Rapid Transit Commission. They called for a subway line from New York City Hall in Lower Manhattan to the Upper West Side, where 2 branches would lead north into the Bronx. A plan was formally adopted in 1897, and all legal conflicts concerning the route alignment were resolved near the end of 1899. The Rapid Transit Construction Company, organized by John B. McDonald and funded by August Belmont, Jr., signed the initial contract won with the Rapid Transit Commission in February 1900, in which it would construct the subway and maintain a 50-year operating lease from the opening of the line. In 1901, the firm of Heinz Lafarge was hired to design the underground stations. Belmont incorporated the Interborough Rapid Transit Company, IRT, in April 1902 to operate the subway. The station had always been envisioned as a terminal with loop tracks. The initial plans in the 1890s called for 4 tracks on a loop, extending beneath the City Hall Post Office and Courthouse, which was then at the southern corner of City Hall Park. When the plans for the IRT line were changed in 1898 to allow the express tracks to go to Brooklyn as part of the subway's contract too, the planned City Hall station was changed to a single-track local station, thereby avoiding a grade crossing with the express tracks. Under the 1898 iteration of the plan, the loop was to diverge from the line at the south end of Center Street, traveling west under City Hall Park, south under Broadway, and then northeast under Park Row. In addition, tracks from the loop would have led to the post office building. Construction of the loop, a formal groundbreaking ceremony was performed at City Hall on March 24, 1900, pursuant to the contract's requirements. The ceremony was officiated by then-Mayor Robert Van Wyck. Degnan McLean Contracting Company was awarded the contract for Section 1, from the City Hall Loop to Chambers Street. Work began promptly after the groundbreaking. A further change was requested in September 1900, which would provide more room for the loop on the Park Row side. Plans for the loop under City Hall Park were modified in January 1901, providing for a shortened loop. By that March, the City Hall loop was planned to be built just north of the post office, rather than around it. At the end of the month, trees in City Hall Park were being removed in preparation for the loop's construction. The portion of the loop in City Hall Park was excavated starting in April 1901. The trees were removed from the park using derricks. One worker was killed that May when a derrick boom in front of the subway excavation was knocked loose. Sand from the 500-foot-long, 152 m, excavation was sold to builders who sought the sand for its good quality. The short section adjacent to the post office could not be constructed because the Treasury Secretary had not approved the work, leading the IRT to request approval from Congress. The entirety of the loop within City Hall Park had been excavated by that August. Most of the excavation was covered over shortly afterward, although a small part remained open to facilitate work on the station. In late 1901, the contractors began excavating the tunnel under Park Row, which would carry both the northbound track of the loop and the express tracks to Brooklyn. Work on the station was placed on hold because the station's concrete vaults were difficult to pour during winter. By February 1902, 3/4 of the work for the station's side walls had been completed. And work had started on the vaults. The tunnel under Park Row had been fully excavated and was being covered with steel beams. Most of the loop was completed by late 1902, except for the section under the post office. The contractors excavated the remains of the loop after they were given temporary permission, in December 1902, to use the vaults underneath the post office. Completion. By late 1903, the tilework of the sidewalks and the station's staircase was completed. Construction materials were being stored in the station's only entrance and exit. The subway was nearly complete, but the IRT powerhouse and the system's electrical substations were still under construction, delaying the system's opening. On New Year's Day 1904, Mayor George B. McClellan Jr. and a group of wealthy New Yorkers gathered at the City Hall station and traveled 6 miles, 9.7 kilometers, to 125th Street using handcars. The IRT conducted several more handcar trips afterward. The first train to run on its own power traveled from 125th Street to City Hall in April 1904. The City Hall station opened on October 27, 1904. As the southern terminal station of the original 28-station New York City subway line to 145th Street on the West Side branch, now the Broadway 7th Avenue line. At the time, the station was called City Hall Loop. Prior to the opening, more than 15,000 people were issued passes for the first series of rides from the City Hall station's platform. McClellan attended the opening ceremonies, which began at 1 p.m. The first subway train departed from City Hall at precisely 2:34 p.m., with McClellan at the controls. President A.E. Orr of the Rapid Transit Board requested that all New Yorkers join in the celebration by blowing whistles and ringing bells. The new line carried 27,000 passengers for free until 6 p.m., and another 125,000 passengers paid to ride the subway in the 6-hour period that followed.